So, a couple of very important things as you go through the lesson for this week on cardiac conditions. I think it's important to know that we're going to be working with cardiac conditions for a couple of weeks. So, my point there is that you're going to have time to learn more about cardiovascular systems beginning week 4 as well as week 3. So, realize that. I know this is a lot of information. I forewarned you in PTA 100 that you would be spending more time on the cardiovascular system. I know for many of you, you did quite well on that section on the exam, but for some of you, it was challenging material. The heart is, once you learn it, it's not too bad. I think you really need to know the anatomy of the heart, the blood flow of the heart, its relationship with the lungs, the pulmonary system. We are seeing more patients with cardiovascular problems at younger ages because of poor health in the United States, particularly related to just poor diet, lack of exercise, and just abuse of the heart as a muscle in our cardiac system. It's very interesting. I was talking to a nurse recently, and his theory, or not theory, but I think it's backed by fact, is that everything we do to abuse our heart in our teen years with doing some reckless things. Maybe many of you maybe never engaged in some of these activities, which is great, but as people go through adolescence and early adulthood, and even sometimes middle age, they consume a lot of alcohol and experiment with different types of drugs. Certainly stress and just not being able to manage stress well can put extra strain on our heart through stress. Our diet can put a lot of strain on our hearts beginning way back when we're just a little baby, just eating poor quality foods. It just takes our heart and just creates a lot of fat around it. My niece is a cardiac nurse, and she was telling me about what unhealthy hearts look like, that in patients that are have had unhealthy diets and are diabetics and are sedentary. And she said essentially they're flat, meaning that there's just no bulk to them. Just as we have bulk on our biceps and bulk on our triceps, bulk on our hamstrings and our quadriceps and our calf muscle. She says this muscle is just flat and just has a lot of, there's just very little red. She said there's just a lot of white and accumulate just with a lot of fat. Not a good picture, but we're talking about pathology, so it's relevant to talk about this. It's important to exercise and to eat well and to manage stress and to not consume substances that are legal or illegal, licit or illicit, and as well as simply just not managing stress well, and certainly breathing in toxins and poor quality air. People on bicycles, it's important to ride bicycles. It's great for your health, but if you're breathing exhaust while you're riding your bike through some of these busier cities, such as Portland and in New York City, for example, you're just consuming a lot of exhaust and carbon dioxide, and let me tell you, that's not good for your heart either. So there's a lot of things that we can control regarding our health and certainly how it affects our heart. So I want to get back to material. I'm digressing a little bit. The objectives of what you want to be really focused on. I'm going to really try to define different abbreviations. HCN means hypertension, and certainly the office hour is a really good time to ask questions about abbreviations and some of these different health conditions that are related to heart. There's a lot of little links involved here to help further explore knowledge in some of these health conditions. Really important, I didn't mean to skip over ahead, but I think this is all pretty, not necessarily new information, but the importance of listening to your patients if they're talking about chest pain. This is a need to stop exercise and not just keep pushing people, because you could be inducing damage to the heart if you continue to push people that are having an angina type event. I think the section on smoking is pretty self-explanatory. I think this link should be helpful to kind of look at to reinforce what you learned in PTA 100 in terms of capillary refill. So I would review that information and review some of the external anatomy of the heart. Some of this information will be repeat for you from PTA 100, but also from having anatomy and physiology before. We're going to kind of revisit some of the readings in Cameron to really capture deconditioning as it relates to heart cases, and to really get familiar with the Borg RPE scale, which you have been exposed to in 103 lab and were introduced to last fall with various heart conditions. I think this little link video on the cardiac telemetry will make that information come to life. And then I'll come back with another video as we get more into cardiac conditions and defining some terms for you.